As we've heard all day, really, it's an incredibly exciting time for the industry, and it's great to be in London. But as a business that's just taken the leap and moved to Northwest, Claire, I'm starting the lobbying early. We could all meet next year in Manchester. Here. It's been well over a year since we took the decision to move our HQ and our home to Salford, and I really can't recommend it enough. We're currently the only major telco that has made this step, and we'd love more organisations to join us. The sheer talent and vibrancy of us all working together in one campus has enabled us to tap into a whole wave of creativity, which makes me hugely excited about the times ahead. TalkTalk is going from strength to strength. Our simple mission to offer affordable fibre for everyone to over 4.2 million customers and thousands of businesses and enterprises nationwide is working. And as these images show, it's been a busy year in Salford. This week, we hosted an event for Net Zero Heroes, where we're asking colleagues to make a real difference with their own initiatives to reduce their carbon footprint. Throughout the year, we've hosted a whole series of events with speakers including Colin Jackson, Gary Neville, Fern Cotton, as well as our very own Charles Dunstan. I'm also thrilled that following the recent 200 million sale of Fibre Nation to City Fibre Holdings, we are creating a Northern Centre of Excellence, which will really drive out full fibre and help to reach the next generation of digital infrastructure throughout the north of England. It has a potential to reach over 3 million homes and businesses, and coupled with City Fibre's own plans to reach 5 million homes. Plus, of course, the excellent momentum and investment from Openreach, just as Mark has been saying, and I was just with Clive Selly from Openreach this morning, discussing their now very, very rapid rollout and investment. As we've heard so often from government, both here on the stage today and in recent months, levelling up is critical to make sure that nobody is left behind and that the whole country can flourish. And that levelling up has to also start with us as businesses. I'm extremely proud of the move we've made, and I see this as a commitment being at the heart of what TalkTalk stands for, and in fact has always stood for in its 15 years. Fair, accessible connectivity should be a reality for everyone in this country, no matter where they are. And I frankly think it's rather a scandal that in 2020, whilst we're now starting to make progress, that it's still far from being the case. While Britain does definitely, and again we've heard it all day today, lead the way in digital innovation in so many ways, we are still far behind many other countries for full fibre access, with just 10%. Other European markets, Spain, Portugal, many others, have FTTP coverage of 70 to 80%. And it's something that everyone in the room should be determined to fix. Because what links all of us today is how we entertain, how we amaze, how we delight, how we communicate with customers, letting them share moments. We are all content producers, broadcasters, social media networks, and much, much more. But without the means to get this content or services to people, we have nothing. As we've just heard from Mark, the increases you see on 5G are enormous in terms of data. It is the same with fibre to the premise. And the demand for that access continues to soar. We see 30 to 40% growth in network traffic over the last year, driven mainly by Netflix, Amazon, gaming, huge gaming, and clearly video. The iPhone remains the most popular device at 20%, and indeed in the average home now, there are 12 to 15 connected devices, and that shows no sign of slowing down. Over-the-top video services account for 60% of our network traffic, driven by YouTube. You heard, you stole my thunder, Mark. Prime Video, Netflix, and other streaming services, and the popularity of gaming platforms in particular, such as Fortnite and Call of Duty, has generated new network peaks for us all. This thing is properly coming. It's not just this happening in the consumer business, it's also happening in B2B, with the huge move towards cloud-based services and voice over IP. So, there's lots to be optimistic about. And it's particularly encouraging to see the government's ambition, as we heard this morning from the Secretary of State on this stage. And I actually just also this morning spoke to Matt Wallman, the Digital Minister, about delivering for Britain on this. The enthusiasm was evident too when we all as a sector met the Prime Minister last month and other industry leaders. It is top of the government agenda. But it does require us all to step up, not only to deliver the infrastructure, but to keep the interests of all consumers nationwide at the heart of what we do. We propose a 3-point plan to deliver by 2025. Firstly, keeping consumers at the heart of the conversation. We've found from our experience in places like York, where we have a full fibre network, consumers want full fibre, but price is a major determinant for that choice, along with reliability and clearly speed. In York, we've moved every single one of our customers from copper to fibre to the premise, and we are the first provider to do this. Customer satisfaction in York is at an incredible 96%. It is the way the internet ought to be. Secondly, incentivising investment. It's fundamental. As shown by our recent Fibre Nation agreement, these networks are valuable and can really deliver. Likewise, Openreach is making very, very significant commitments to reach 4 million premises by March 2021. And lastly, removing the barriers that still exist, changing the laws to make it easier to get permissions to build, to use different infrastructure such as ducts and poles, simpler to connect new blocks of flats, and streamline the rules around closed roads and digging in towns and cities. And let's also be clear about the environmental benefits of full fibre. Again, we touched on this earlier today. Not only is it faster and more reliable, it's cleaner and greener than copper could ever be, given it requires no electrical charge and far, far more efficient. According to our analysis, the network would reduce its emissions significantly if the true switch from copper to fibre was made, as is the government's intention and plan. And we will all be sharing more on this at a later date. So if we didn't already have incentive enough, that should surely focus all of our minds on delivering by 2025, if not before. Separately, I'm very pleased that the DCMS committee in Parliament has today announced an inquiry into full fibre rollout, and it's vital during that the consumer is kept front and centre of people's minds nationwide. There are also vital roles to be played by both government and Ofcom. At TalkTalk, we've always said clearly that competition is the only way to drive full fibre investment that Britain needs. We've also been, from our inception, the voice of the customer, the value provider, delivering the fairest prices. As Ofcom considers the future of the wholesale fixed telecoms market in its current review, we would urge it to think carefully of these consumers, who must be an important consideration. Under the current approach, our concern is that people will fail to receive high-speed connections they have been promised, whilst at the same time facing higher bills, years in advance of improvements coming. There will be sections of customers stranded only on copper, but with higher prices. So we would strongly urge Ofcom to avoid raising wholesale prices too early and only do so when access to full fibre becomes properly available. This is absolutely the best way to encourage investment from new entrants, support retail competition, and protect consumers from higher charges before they have access to faster, more reliable fibre. Alongside competition, a successful full fibre future needs a national-scale customer base. In the US, Google tried to roll out full fibre without an existing base, no customers to migrate, and it simply didn't work. Network builders, infrastructure investors need to work with the large ISPs, such as TalkTalk, so there's an existing customer base that can be migrated quickly and affordably onto faster services. This is also the thing that absolutely underpins any infrastructure investor's case, whether it's the scale of Openreach or a CFH. Not only competitive pricing is also critical. The ambition must be for full fibre to be available to everyone at a sensible price. That doesn't mean a race to the bottom. Not only does it risk excluding low-income groups from essential digital infrastructure, we could also be left with expensive white elephants in cities across the UK, as I've described. Experience in York shows that when fibre is priced appropriately, that does mean paying a little bit more, and fairly, it can be a mass market product. And that should be the case wherever you live, in a town, in a city, in a rural area. We are hugely encouraged by the government's commitment to invest £5 billion to ensure rural connectivity, and we look forward to hearing more on this at the budget next week. It is critical, though, that any subsidy must be available to all network builders on a competitive basis. And whether it's full fibre, superfast, or copper broadband, as an industry, we have a responsibility to treat our customers fairly. Moving now to fairness. Since we were launched at the turn of the millennium, we have consistently challenged the industry to be fairer and campaigned for positive change. TalkTalk fully supports Ofcom's fairness agenda, and we've made some significant commitments over the last few years. We're one of only a few providers to guarantee no mid-contract broadband price increases. Whilst now mandatory by Ofcom, since last month we've been sending communications to our customers as they approach contract end, outlining the best deal available to them. We're making it easier and easier to switch for new and existing customers. That's the case in fixed and mobile, and I absolutely agree with Mark on TV also. We will also switch vulnerable customers who are out of contract to a better deal, no questions asked. It's time for the whole industry to address unfair tariffs and up its game when it comes to support the most vulnerable in our society. And that should be the case not only for our legal and compliance obligations, but there are also a number of voluntary measures that a number of the larger ISPs subscribe to ensure customer fairness and transparency, and we have proudly adopted all of those. Whether it's on auto compensation, transparency about broadband speeds, or doing all we can to stop scams, we really need to make sure all telco providers subscribe to the same commitments. That fairness should extend to customers no matter where they are in the UK. We are determined at TalkTalk that we should be able to provide the same first-class service whether you're right in the north of Scotland or in the south of Cornwall. After last year's election result, the Prime Minister spoke of the trust placed in him by new supporters in communities in the north, the Midlands and Wales. Delivering better connectivity will be a key test for this government when it comes to its commitment to areas who feel they've been left behind. And this year, we will continue to play our part to deliver fairer distribution of economic power beyond London, beyond the South East, and our highly successful university towns and cities. Firstly, we've accelerated investment in the North digital infrastructure. Since 2015, we've been building new full fibre broadband network, providing faster, reliable connectivity as modern digital economy needs. We've made a conscious choice not to start in London or in the North or in the South East, but have started in York, where we've passed nearly 50,000 homes, moving now up through the North East. Our recent sale of Fibre Nation to City Fibre will continue to accelerate this full fibre rollout across the North East. And just as importantly as infrastructure, companies can choose where to invest in people and in talent. And that's why, as I said at the start, we've made a deliberate choice to move our home and business to Salford. It's now over 12 months since we announced the move, and I'm pleased to say that we're coming to the end of the transition phase. All our staff are now based there. We have less than 20 people now based in London, right in the heart now of the Northern Powerhouse. We've created over 500 new jobs, while at the same time ensuring our current employees progress in their careers. We've been absolutely thrilled with the welcome we've had from the Northwest. We're thrilled with the skills and the expertise we've attracted so far. We've got an extraordinary team that have joined us from a whole wide range of organisations. Interesting also to see that GCHQ are moving their digital area from Cheltenham to Manchester as we speak. Just as important, our employees are becoming happier and happier. We have a +12 employee NPS for our new starters, and it has now grown in the last 3 months to plus 56. However, HQ isn't just an office for us. We are fully embedding ourselves in the local community and the economy. We've already got some fantastic partnerships with the local council. We're building long-term relationships with all of the local universities, bringing in talent to help us think through issues from climate change, customer service, and employee well-being. We're also sponsoring the tuition costs for students at the University Academy of 92. There are some world-class universities, as everybody knows, in Greater Manchester. So for a tech company like TalkTalk, we are confident that the pipeline is strong enough so we can continue to recruit the best young talent over the coming years. And we want to ensure that that talent is absolutely as diverse as it possibly can be. For example, as we know, just 17% of those working in technology in the UK are female. This has to change. It's not going to come overnight. TalkTalk won't be able to do it alone, but by working with partners and local universities, we can properly drive that inclusion agenda in the Northwest, promote diversity, and ensure we create a level playing field so everyone can benefit from the current wave of investment in this area. This is our contribution to rebalancing the economy, and there are a number of fantastic organisations thinking a similar thing. We really hope more will follow and see the benefit of life beyond the M25. So, to recap, the time is now for scale investment in full fibre and for a fairer society. For full fibre, 3 things really matter. A competitive market. This is a shared challenge. We now need to allow everyone to play their part. Scale customer bases that can be lifted quickly and affordably onto new networks, underpinning the infrastructure business case. And sensible pricing that allows everyone to benefit. Ensuring world-class digital infrastructure in all corners of the UK is now essential. The question is whether all of us in this room can step up to this challenge. If we can level the playing field, we can assure that this extraordinary digital economy truly works for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tristia. Although I think, given my past track record, if Claire relocates this conference to Manchester, there will be all sorts of problems. Just time for one question. Yeah, we could stream live.
Let's do that instead.
Just one question. A lot of your competitors seem to have set up sort of flanker brands or secondary brands to sort of segment their audiences. As yet, you haven't done that. Any plans to do so?
No, we're extremely single-minded. From when we started sort of 15 years ago, it was all about offering affordable, reliable, fair connectivity, and that was true then, and it's extremely true today, and it's all about fibre for us.
And final question, out of contract, you mentioned it in your speech. Is that going to create a business pressure for you kind of down the line in terms of the consequences of that competitively?
To be perfectly honest, the thing that we see is that customers we all want, a reliable internet connection at an affordable price. If we can do that and do that consistently, that starts to pay. And so we're not seeing a particular issue with it. We would, as Mark quite rightly points out, urge all of industry and all telcos to take this up, and we thoroughly support what Ofcom is saying.
Great. Thank you very much, Tristia Harrison.